nothing worthwhile, mediocre podcasting. Today, tomorrow, forever.
500.
Y.
One Y.
I'll buy a vowel.
Okay.
An O.
Two O's.
I'll solve.
Okay.
Another feather in your hat.
No. Christopher. $650.
G.
No G. Thomas. Uh-oh, the bankrupt got you. Laura, you have another shot at it. You can spin the wheel or try to solve the puzzle.
I'll solve.
Okay.
Another feather in your lap.
No. Although the feather is moving around. Christopher. 900.
D.
No. Thomas. Well, Thomas, I think the wheel got... Laura, you have another opportunity here. You can spin the wheel. You can try to solve the puzzle. What do you want to do? Go ahead and spin if you don't know.
I'm going to go ahead and
yeah,
spin.
Don't get buzzed out here on time. Well, what letter would you like?
A P.
Yes, there's a P. Spin or solve.
I will solve.
Okay.
Another feather in your map.
Christopher, it's your turn. Oh, my goodness. The bankrupt got you. Thomas, you have no money. I don't know. You're going to spin? You can try
I'll
to
spin.
Okay. So what letter would you like?
A C.
Is there a C up there anywhere? There you go. You want to solve this?
Yeah, I'll solve. Another feather in your cap.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you have $500. We'll make it $1,000. That's our minimum per round. You have $7,050. Boy, this stuff happens. You get a word in your head, and then, of course, when you figure it out, you go, what was I thinking? You know? Anyway, it's fine. That round is over, but it was fun in a sort of perverse way. We'll be right back.
In this land of frozen beauty, where a proud people make their home, Aegis Oil is making a killing.
People here want to talk about the poisons in their environment.
If Aegis 1 is not online and operational in 13 days, then the oil rights will revert back to the Eskimos, and that is not going to happen.
But there is hope. And now, he's here. Steven Seagal is on deadly ground.
You're an oil man.
When I put out the fires, I stop spills. We are being lied to by some of the most sophisticated people on Earth.
I know we've had our disagreements.
How much money is enough?
I don't need that kind of problem right now.
Get rid of the problem.
You mean mercenaries?
Now this land has a friend.
In you, I've seen a great spirit.
These people have a warrior.
Did you beat up on this little native man?
And this corporation
Find me a buddy or find me the man.
has a big problem.
I mean, who the hell is this guy?
Sensei's company.
Company?
CIA.
Whatever he is, he's a damn problem.
Steven Seagal.
Time to move out.
Michael Caine.
He'd need a miracle to stop us now.
Just gonna reach out and touch somebody here.
On deadly ground.
Live from the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network studios, It's Nothing Worthwhile presents Van Dammit, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Here's Evan Moody and Andrew Gruthius.
Everybody was kung fu late-breaking WWE news, spanning the universe for the latest news on our favorite 80s aging action stars. And if that isn't enough, we are taking a critical look at another key member of the last of the Action Heroes podcast network. It's 1994 Steven Seagal tour de force on deadly ground. All of this and more, a special Friday night SmackDown edition of Nothing Worthwhile presents another award-winning episode of Van Dammit, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme. A good Noxucal to you, Groo. Let's get focused. Adjust your karate gi. One breath in. One breath out. Again, as I say, no retreat.
No surrender.
All right, let's bring in my best friend, my partner in crime, Andrew Gruthius on the East Coast. Groo, how the hell are you, my friend?
I am daylight savings out, ready to rock and roll. It is 11 o'clock. We have never done one this late except live from where we will be in a couple of weeks, which I know we're going to talk about. But, yeah, doing well. Spring break has started for me. So
nice.
We're only 3 hours past my bedtime at this point, and ready to discuss, to take a little, little right turn here, away from the JCVD universe, to check out something else, and really looking forward to. I watched this movie, seen it twice in my life, 20-something years apart, maybe more. So definitely looking forward to this one. But yeah, everything's fine here. Beautiful weather is beautiful down here to start off spring break. It was, at least I think it was. That's what it said on my phone. I never left the house today, but apparently it's beautiful outside. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So we're finishing our spring break. I had spring break this week. It's been a busy 2 weeks. We've had guests staying with us for the
yes.
past 2 weeks, and then on top of 2 dogs, and so it's been a very hectic. But finally, we're back to house is back to normal. As I was telling Andrew before we started, I got a chance saw the Batman today. 3 hours plus 3 hours. Had some good sushi. Went with the girlfriend to the mall and had a good time. So,
what kind of sushi?
Spring break
What'd you have?
We went to oh my god, what's the name of the place? Oh my lord, Kona Grill. Do you have Kona Grill out by you?
I must because I've heard of it. So I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. I've definitely.
I mean, they have
heard
they have. You'd like it too because we had like Kona hamburger sliders and sushi. It was really good. Great happy hour menu. And we had a good time. It was nice to get out, nice to walk around the mall, nice to see a movie, even though, as I was saying to Andrew and he was saying to me, I don't enjoy going to the movies quite as much as I used to back in my younger days. Every little thing bothers me. Somebody on their phone, somebody coughing, it's just... But nonetheless, it was good to get out, and the weather's been same thing in Phoenix, really nice, low 80s, and it's probably going to start to get real hot. But right now, the weather is beautiful, and... just getting excited for for the fun to come. But before we get to that, Andrew, last month we delved into 1991's Double Impact. Again, we had a triple impact of sort, as the last of the Action Heroes CEO Ryan Rebalkin joined us for a hard 90. And I mean, it was a hard 90. Andrew Gruthius, any final thoughts on 1991's Jean-Claude Van Damme Double Impact?
It was fun to talk about it with Ryan, as I said. Honestly, it was so long ago. I'm having trouble remembering. I think I remember liking the movie more than I wanted to.
What do you mean by that, than wanted to?
I know after we did the episode, I didn't rewatch the movie again. I kind of, skipped around a little bit. And, I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? This is bad, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more than other bad movies that I enjoy. I don't know. It's kind of weird because I come from, I was part of the movie business for a while, so
yes.
Somebody said a famous quote one time. I think it was actually, I sound so snobbish right now, but I think it was Francis Ford Coppola who said that when you're, very good wine. I think he said that when you're on a movie set, there isn't one person on that set, from the lighting guy to the Teamster drivers, who don't think that they can make that movie better than you are. Like, everybody's got an opinion, and having been on movie sets, that is very true. So, I remember watching it, thinking like, man, I feel like I would have done that differently or could have done that better.
All right, so let me take a cut at some of the things you said. So, I don't ever agree with Andrew. Likes to say sometimes it was so bad, I loved it. I don't buy into that. But my thing is, I thought Double Impact was a solid movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think Double Impact was a solid Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Certainly not without faults, but I didn't think it was a terrible movie.
You said you said two things there. You said a solid movie, and then you said a solid Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Is there a difference?
I mean, a good point. When you're talking about this, I guess you're talking about expectation. I mean, when you're talking about a lot of the reviews for the last of the Action Heroes podcast network, when you're talking about some of these, we said Jean-Claude is on the outer cusp. He's certainly not a Stallone or an Arnold. I mean, I guess there's an expectation going in that you're thinking, wow, I'm going to be watching something for 120 minutes, and it's not going to be good cinema. I thought Double Impact was good cinema. And I guess I also felt like it was, again, continuing the momentum and the ascension for Jean-Claude. And by no means am I saying it was Ben-Hur, but if you're talking about Jean-Claude and you're talking about Double Impact, I've seen improvement almost incrementally with each successive movie, and I thought Double Impact up to this point, and we'll be hitting more Jean-Claude movies as we go along, was my favorite movie so far. I agree with you. I did enjoy Bloodsport too.
Yeah,
but I think on this level, Double Impact's got a bigger budget. It's got a little bit more.
I agree with you on that. And as far as the Ascension, definitely, which is going to be interesting, discussing how the gentleman who made our movie today. Is this an ascension or a descension? If you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. You're referring to one Mr. Steven Seagal.
Yeah, because I have definitely a lot to say. Because full disclosure, I followed, meaning past tense, Steven Seagal's early career much closer than I did Jean-Claude Van Damme's. So I'm much more familiar with Seagal's early work than Van Damme. So have to be disclosure about that.
Hold your thoughts on Steven Seagal. Yes. Before we move on, Groo, let's get some quick hitter thoughts.
Okay.
Andrew and I are major pro wrestling fans, specifically WWE. We'll be live in Dallas, Texas. We'll talk about that for WrestleMania 38. But, Groo, we've been waiting several weeks, and the WWE finally got around to it, setting up the return of one Stone Cold Steve Austin for WrestleMania 38. At the end of the March 7th Monday Night Raw, Kevin Owens called out Stone Cold for a special edition of the KO show in AT&T Stadium next month. The WWE Hall of Famer responded the next day to KO's invite, put, I guess, a video on Instagram, basically said, and I quote, 19 years ago, I wrestled my last match in a WWE ring. After 3 rock bottoms, 1, 2, 3, I lost the match, and for 19 years, I had to live with that defeat, knowing my time was up. Kevin Owens, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for waking something up deep inside of me that I've kept buried for 19 years. Ever since you started running that mealy mouth of yours, talking about the state of Texas, the great state of Texas, you got my attention. Why would you want to do that, Kevin? I could think of 2 reasons. 1, you are one dumb son of a bitch, and 2, you are fixing to get your ass kicked by Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then, of course, Stone Cold says he's going to be returning to Dallas, Texas, where he started his career at WrestleMania. Stone Cold is going to open up one last can of whoop ass on you, Kevin Owens. Reports went back and forth on whether or not this would actually be a formal match, and Stone Cold's promo continues to play with that idea. It's the KO show, but we're not really sure. We know it's going to get physical. We're not sure to what extent, but there's no doubt that there's going to be some physicality. And even if we don't get much more than a couple of bumps and some stunners, we got one of the best talkers all time past and one of the best all talkers right now present. Groo, do you got a hell yeah for Stone Cold mixing up one more time at WWE at WrestleMania?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm really excited about it. I do have some concerns because I believe, is that you drinking an actual Coca-Cola?
Yeah, Marie had one, and I just took it upstairs.
Oh, my God. You're going to be up all night knowing you.
Woo! I was going crazy Friday night.
I'm really looking forward to this. The build-up is phenomenal. My only concern is they're not doing anything to slow down, like, the talk about, it becoming some kind of match. And like, if it's just a couple of stunners and that's it, I'll be disappointed. It's got to do something to have a lasting impact. So if this is a one-off for Stone Cold, which is perfectly fine, what it needs to do then, it needs to impact Kevin Owens going forward. It can't be just a WrestleMania thing and then Kevin Owens comes out on Monday night and says, I kicked Stone Cold's ass last night, and now I'm going to kick the Miz's ass. Like it can't be just, he's got to move forward. Anything less than that, I'll probably be disappointed. The pop will be great. It'll be fun, but I really think they have a chance to turn a corner here. So they should use it.
Yeah, I'll take a little umbrage with the build-up. I am, of course, very excited. But as I was walking the road dog, Braxton Moody, before the podcast, and he pooped, and I picked up his fecal matter in a little baggie, and I noticed there was still half a shit in his butthole, and we had to then give him a half bath in our bathroom sink with water and fecus.
You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing that music from the Naked Gun. Like, got something special on my, and you and Marie looking at each other like holding the crap in your hand and laughing, and I can see that.
My thing is, I feel like you like to talk about when you watch movies, could they have done this better? I feel like they could have done this so much better. Obviously they're benefiting from Kevin Owens is going to get hopefully a great shine here because this guy is money on the mic. He doesn't look like much. He's great in the ring. He's not a physical specimen. Surprising that he's lasted in the WWE this long, and he just got a long-term contract. So good for you, Kevin Owens. I mean, the build-up to me, it's a silly angle. I hate the state of Texas. It's so 1987. The Honky Tonk Man should be doing it. Hey, I'll tell you something. The state of Texas. So, and then Stone Cold just puts out a video. Now, with that being said, you're talking about one of the greatest performers of all time. Andrew and I both on our top 10 wrestling podcast, which I love to listen to every once in a while. Both of us coincidentally had Stone Cold at number 6. So you're getting a true legend. To Andrew's point about physicality, I don't disagree, but could I see it where it's just a couple of stunners and Kevin Owens moves on the next Monday? I don't want to belabor the point. I've read people have commented that perhaps this might be more than just a one-off. I'd be excited, obviously, if it doesn't. But I think the build-up, I thought about this in terms of Rocky. If this was built up correctly, where perhaps maybe at the Royal Rumble or Survivor Series, the two guys bumped heads in a hallway, Stone Cold, hey, you took my stunner. You build it up slowly. Reports are that they just locked in Stone Cold maybe just a few weeks ago. He's training furiously to get in ring shape. I think they're both going to try to put on a great show. But it's the difference between, I like to think of a Rocky 2 versus a Rocky 4 pop. I'm going to give you a Stone Cold, a Rocky 4 pop, because he's just amazing. He's one of the all-time greats. Had they built this up a little bit better, giving it a little bit more legs, put a little bit more into it. And yes, I am admitting Kevin Owens and Stone Cold are money on the mic. They'll make it work. But had they put a little more into this, they would have gotten Evan Moody, a real energetic Rocky 2 where I'm super, super into it. Now it just feels like they just threw these two guys together real quick, threw them in the frying pan, threw some oil, some chicken, and they'll make a great meal out of it. But that's where I might criticize them. I don't think the build-up's been great, but you're getting two great performers nonetheless.
Well, they do have 2 Raws left before WrestleMania, so it'll be interesting to see what else they. Do you think that this was, even though, like you said, they booked Stone Cold just a few weeks ago? Do you think they had other plans for Owens that fell through, or it's not like, I know that I've heard rumors about things changing, and like this has been a very hastily put together card, which is surprising because it's a really strong one, I think, but we'll talk about that more later. But do you think this was like some patchwork here?
No, I think the plan was always Stone Cold and KO. I think the plan was, obviously they wanted Stone Cold as a major part of WrestleMania 38, right? With 38. Yeah. Obviously, Dallas, Texas. The guy is going to be a huge draw in his home state. The pop is going to just be
massive,
deafening. It'll be one of those you'll see on YouTube for years to come, especially if the guy's in shape and he's able to put on any kind of performance. Yes, obviously reports are, the WWE, trying to scrap together, 2 nights. I think this was always where they wanted to go. It was always a question, from what I've read, was whether or not Stone Cold wanted to, he's not been in a ring with any physical. Obviously, he's done some dips and drabs here and there over the years, but he's not had any major type of physicality happen to him in 19 years against The Rock at Safeco Field. I think it was WrestleMania 19. Amazing match, by the way. To answer your question, long story short, I believe this was the plan. It was just a question of Stone Cold wanted to make it physical.
Okay, well, they got my attention, so I'm looking forward to it without a doubt.
Andrew, sad news earlier this week. Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, dead at the age of 63. As I just mentioned, WWF's Razor Ramon and a founding member of the NWO. I don't have anything in front of me. I'm going to freestyle. Apparently had hip surgery, blood clots, 3 heart attacks, and it was just a question of time before his family got there. It was apparently on Kevin Nash's Instagram, in which it was reported that his family would be taking him off life support. I think he hung in there for about half a day and was pronounced dead at the age of 63. Very, very sad news. The floor will go to Andrew Gruthius. Groo, thoughts on the passing of Scott Hall?
Yeah, this is a bummer. You and I met him at WrestleCon a few years ago. We both put up those pictures. Couldn't have been nicer to us, and that's and I'm enjoying hearing that kind of vibe. The vibe that we got from him is what everybody else got from him. Everybody is saying what, demons and all, what a good, nice man he was, and giving to the talent, and he was incredible. I always said, when this happened, I'm like, he'll be fine. He's got 9 lives, because he's been through so much, and God bless him for fighting through so much. And I remember we were talking off the air. I watched some of the old stuff on the network in the last few days, and it's amazing how much greatness he couldn't be. I don't see anything bad in the work that he did. Like, he was always good, unless he was going through something. He just, whether it was Razor Ramon or the NWO, which changed everything, and he was the catalyst for that. Just leaves behind an incredible legacy. Very sad, but a life definitely worth celebrating in many ways, and I'm hoping that they will continue to do so. But yeah, real bummer.
Yeah, I can't really add too much on the emotionality of it. It was very sad to read. It's just a tough way to go. And the only thing I'll add, I do agree. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon did a lot of great stuff, but I think when I step back, I watched the Razor's Edge documentary. He had a lot of trauma. He had a lot of addiction issues. I think his career had, let's say, that stuff really did not impact him, especially towards the end when he was in WCW and then he had a second WWE run and TNA. He had a lot of problems with addiction and being a reliable performer and making dates and things of that nature. I think he could have had that stuff not impact him. And again, I'm just freestyling. Perhaps he could have had a top 10 career. That dude was that good. Yeah. He had the look. He was chiseled. He was handsome. And then when he got that amazing gimmick, well, it was really started a little bit with the Diamond Stud in WCW. And then Vince took that and kind of Scarfaced it up with Razor Ramon. Yep. And that gimmick just hit like money. And, the only other thing I would add, Andy, is, I don't know if he's Kurt Flood, but him and Nash really changed the whole system of economics with wrestling. When they left to go to WCW, they broke the bank. They were really, WWF, NWA always traded free agents, so to speak. But those guys were the most high profile up to that point. The internet, and it kicked off that whole war and backroom dealings and wrestlers getting big time money, in some instances akin to other professional athletes. Yeah,
but big loss, big legacy, and
yeah. Listen to, I know he's dead, but I mean, I just gave a whole thing, and you're like, yeah.
It was a bummer. I just keep coming back to the thing that we.
I was so proud of my.
No, that was beautiful. It was elegant. It was look, I keep coming back to that thing that you and I always talk about. The next several years are going to suck for our generation because the people we grew up, idolizing. A couple months ago it was Meatloaf, and Scott Hall now, and life is it seems like yesterday. Like you and I were at. I take a lot of pride in that you and I were at what is, I believe, the first ladder match of all time, or the first WWF ladder match. That was Razor, and he won the Intercontinental. That was his first title win in the WWF. We were there at Madison Square Garden, WrestleMania 10, and it's considered one of the greatest matches of all time. I'm very happy to say that I was there for that, and that we met him. And that we met him.
Agree. I feel like somebody in India is listening to this podcast and they're going, these guys are sad about Meatloaf and Scott Hall.
Oh, man.
Probably some Pulitzer Prize winner passed away a week or two ago. And we're like that,
and we're talking about Razor Ramon and Meatloaf.
Guy split the atom. The guy, he made potable water for everyone to drink across the world.
His own children weren't even at his funeral, and you're talking about Meatloaf.
Hey, Chico. Well, it is sad. Scott Hall dead at the age of 63.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Scott Hall. And Groo, I'll give you one final quick hitter. Walking the dog, hit up my phone, and it is official. Cody Rhodes is signed, sealed, and delivered. He is returning to the WWE. Reports have it that he signed his contract 10 to 14 days ago, and it's no secret. It's still a secret on WWE television, but he will most likely be at WrestleMania facing off against Seth Rollins. Didn't get a chance to get in-depth notes, but Cody Rhodes, say what you want. He's the biggest free agent in wrestling today. At this moment, he's going back to World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah, I'm excited about this because, we've talked about it in the past. This is one of those people who move the needle. You and I, we talked about it. We said, and only because he was the one who left WWE on acrimonious terms. He didn't like the way he was being handled, so he goes and starts this upstart company that nobody pays any mind to, and now it's legitimate competition for the WWE, and all of a sudden, he, out of nowhere, it seemed, fell out with them, or the contract came up, and now he's headed back this way. The question is, what are they going to do with him? That is, as with everybody, that's a big concern. I definitely have some thoughts as of how I would book this return. The question is, do we save that for our WrestleMania discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to get your initial thoughts. I think for me, he is the hottest free agent in wrestling right now.
Handsome too.
He's not. Well, hey, I mean,
he's no Miz, but
you want to keep that private. You want to keep your personal life.
Hey, wait a second. We've never been shy about it.
Okay. So now let me be clear. He's by no means a crossover star. He's not Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
He's not Brock Lesnar, and very few people are right now. There's just not a ton of superstars in wrestling, but he's a pro wrestling star, and he's the biggest name. And I think it was an important signing for the WWE, especially now in this era of competition with AEW. They have released a lot of wrestlers, and they have lost a lot of wrestlers to AEW, where the perception is it's a very fertile ground for creativity, and they let wrestlers do whatever kind of, and blah, 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 blah. And to have somebody now come back as the destination, and we're both WWE heads, it does reinforce that. Again, my thought is, if you want to ply your trade at the highest level in terms of professional wrestling, the WWE is still where you want to be. At the highest level, WWE. And so I think it was an important signing for Vince, for the company to say, we got the biggest name. And again, reports are, you mentioned, what are they going to do? Well, just in the short term, reports are they'll probably keep a lid on it, and he'll make his return at WrestleMania. And reports are that he'll be his return will be the following Monday night at Raw, which that's going to be a hot Raw if they're getting the first, in-depth return, Cody Rhodes on the mic, that kind of deal. I think that's going to be a hot Raw. I'll wait till other podcasts to surmise about what they'll do with Cody Rhodes, but nonetheless, Cody Rhodes grew back in the WWE.
Looking forward to it without a doubt. I just wish Goldust was coming too.
Yeah,
love Goldust.
Yeah, I was watching Best of Austin, and one of the Royal Rumbles, he was Blue Dust.
I remember that. I remember that.
The belly on him. And, anyway, all right. Groo, you got it queued up. Let's check out the latest news on our favorite aging 80s era action stars. It's time for Van Dammit, Spanning the Universe.
Van Dammit, Spanning the Universe.
All right, Groo, Spanning the Universe is brought to you by New You Life Center. Begin a new you. Check out all of their medical weight loss programs at www.newyoulifecenters.com or give them a call at 602-274-0068. Tell them Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New You Life Center, we are in this journey together. A big Van Dammit thank you to New You Life Center. All right, Groo.
How many of those discounts have been given out so far? Have we had fans show up?
Tons. Oh, yeah, it's the Nothing Worthwhile universe. Well, let me tell you something, brother. No, I don't. It's
they're lined around the block, aren't they?
It's been redacted by our attorney, Barry Sheckelstein. Mark Ruthius did advise me to make no comment. Now, listen, Groo, I'm going to go over this. I know this has been on our Facebook Messenger feed with the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network, and people have casted aspersions on it. But I did find an article that says that the Muscles from Brussels is reportedly making one last stand. Jean-Claude is now a spry 61 years old. He's in good shape. Reports have him retiring from films, but not before going out with one last bang. Set to star. They're saying now, and again, I know people have discussed this, set to star in his own biopic. Van Damme will take on all of his old villains one last time in an upcoming Jeremy Zag film entitled What's My Name? What's My Name will feature Jean-Claude as himself. The film will dip into the actor's cinematic career, and many of the villains he has encountered over his 5 decades on screen will appear. Furthermore, What's My Name will dive into Van Damme's personal life as well. According to the website, the film will have Jean-Claude left in a coma following a serious car accident. Waking up with amnesia, Van Damme is unrecognizable to everyone, including himself. Through a series of fights against some of his most iconic rivalries throughout his lucrative career, Van Damme will undergo an epic quest for his own identity and life meaning, leading him to one final match. Speaking about adding real-life ideals to the film, Van Damme said he wants his film to be like his iconic 1988 Bloodsport, but on a, quote, higher level. According to Van Damme, the film will bring back most of the iconic people he fought over his long-spanning career. Quote, all of the UFC fighters grew up watching my movies, and we will have some of those great champions as fighters and some as managers like Randy Couture. Will have a great mix, and the fights will have a real feel to them. While we will surely welcome back iconic Jean-Claude Van Damme rivalries that may include Universal Soldiers Dolph Lundgren, kickboxers Tong Po, and Double Impact's Bolo Young, the details and the rights to the characters will surely prove to be a feat for whichever studio lands this project. Look, Groo, it could all be crap, but if it's indeed true, what a final project for Jean-Claude.
I disagree. I think this sounds ridiculous. However, if it's good, if it's good, great. But I mean, I would prefer to see Van Damme, if he's really going out, I would like to see him make one truly super high budget action extravaganza. That's I don't like him getting into this whole multiverse idea. Like it's the late.
I thought you loved that whole multiverse.
I did, but now every movie is doing it, and now everybody's going to try to rewrite. Bring back people from the Can we come up with some original ideas? And I know I'm hypocritical with that because I love, but I was never. I don't know. I'd rather see, at this point, I'd rather see Stallone in something else other than a Rocky or a Rambo. I may be hypocritical.
It reminds me a little bit of, I think Toho did a Godzilla. It was something, maybe it was King of All Monsters, but the Toho where Godzilla literally went up against every one of his big foes.
But this is like Ready Player One. This is like Easter egg hunting. That's what it sounds like to me.
Okay. I mean,
I feel like they could do better. They could do better than that. But all right, you never know. You never know.
I feel like it could be fun. I know people have casted aspersions that this really won't be going down, but I did find an article stating they're giving some serious thought to it.
Wasn't JCVD sort of like that in a way? I mean, he played himself.
He did, and I saw it a long time ago, and we'll definitely watch it as part of this podcast.
Yeah.
But I don't think it had any. I don't think there were callbacks to foes and things like that. It was kind of a melancholy look at an action hero who's kind of past his prime, who I think gets put into a situation. I think he's in a bank and there's a heist, and he has to, and he's kind of a fake. He's a fraud on film. He's a fighter on film, but now he has to really come through. I think
so. It's basically three. It's basically Three Amigos. That's what it sounds.
Well,
that's what
okay. Well, anyway, Groo, global icon Arnold Schwarzenegger has provided a somewhat melancholy update regarding the development of the twins sequel Triplets. While appearing at the Arnold Sports Festival, Schwarzenegger, who was due to star in Triplets alongside Danny DeVito and Tracy Morgan, revealed that they are slowly searching for a new filmmaker to direct the comedy sequel following the passing of Ivan Reitman. Quote, "We had a little setback because the man that was supposed to direct it, who directed the first one, Ivan Reitman, had passed away. We were going to wait a little bit until the whole thing cools down, and then we're going to readdress it. But that's a project that's supposed to film in October, but we have to now look into a different director and to see if we are going to continue with this project." Groo beloved director Ivan Reitman, who directed Twins back in 1988, was set to return for Triplets alongside Schwarzenegger and DeVito. Sadly, Reitman passed away in his sleep earlier this year on February 12th of 2022 at the age of 75. Based on Arnold's update, it sounds like the development of Triplets has halted while the studio looks for a new director. Let's see here. Groo, the late, great Ivan Reitman, revealed several details of the story for the follow-up, saying, secretly there was a third baby born, a black baby, who hasn't been in touch with his siblings. Reitman explained about Morgan's character, who was initially due to be portrayed by Eddie Murphy. They don't know each other, and very early in the film they meet, and it's how they achieve a bond together after all these years. He continued, "It's really a film about family, and no matter how different we all are, we have to learn to get along." Groo, Triplets, should they still go ahead, or should the project now be shelved following Ivan Reitman's death?
It should probably be shelved. This has been in development hell for over 10 years. I remember they were talking about this movie a long time ago when Eddie Murphy was still attached to it. Look, obviously the real tragedy here is Ivan Reitman, but I can't see this being any good. I've been proven wrong before, but at this point, I don't know. The first one is an absolute classic. It's definitely one of the funniest movies of the late 80s. I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger's first foray into comedy, and I remember he did a great job.
He did?
Yeah, they don't need to do this one. Move on. That's what I'm thinking.
I just love when Arnie's taking a shower and he's singing yakety yak, don't talk.
It's like his voice cracks. It's like, "You don't get no spending cash." Like, it's really.
And I think
funny.
DeVito says, "Julius, what's wrong? Did you get bit by a mosquito?
Yeah. You're
bumps, bumps all over your body."
Yeah, it's a really funny movie. I don't see them. I don't. What is he? I mean, DeVito is all he does these days is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right?
And he's amazing on it.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
But hey, look, if they got something good going, look, Tracy Morgan's hilarious. Maybe if they got something good, go for it. But I can't see them. I can't even fathom what that kind of plot would be. So I'd say no.
Okay, agreed. Probably take a hard pass on Triplets.
Yeah.
Groo, Saban Films has given us a look at the new movie Agent Game, which features an interesting collection of older action heroes caught up in a dangerous game of cat and mouse. The film stars everyone's favorite action hero, anti-Semite Mel Gibson, as a senior intelligence officer recruiting young spies for a life of dirty work. Opposite Mel is Dermot Mulrooney of the Righteous Gemstones, as a CIA interrogator who works behind the scenes and above the law in order to get information by any means necessary. In addition to Gibson and Mulrooney, Agent Game stars BAFTA. What is BAFTA?
Isn't that the British Film Institute or something?
You might be right. BAFTA award nominee Jason Isaacs, who was in Harry Potter, Star Trek Discovery. The film is written by Tyler. Who cares? The film also marks the reunion of Mel Gibson and Isaacs, who Isaacs was. BAFTA. This is the guy who was in Harry Potter, who are working together for the first time in over 20 years. The two played the leads in Roland Emmerich's The Patriot, which saw Gibson and Isaacs on opposite sides
guy.
of the.
I know who that guy is. Yeah.
All right. Agent Game hits theaters as well as digital and on demand on April 8th. Let's see here, Andrew. Share sound. Let's see here. Oh, why is it not coming up? Do you see that or no?
No, I don't see anything. But you're able to share.
Yeah, but it's not coming. Basic, advanced. Share sound.
Click share screen. Click
Hold
share
on.
screen.
I'm clicking. Motherfucker. You know what? Hold on 1 second. Best.
We'll do it live.
Fucking doing it live.
While you're figuring this out.
Oh, please ask the host to give you permission. Oh, no, I don't want to record. The fuck? Hold on. I'm going to try this real quick, and if it doesn't work, we're not
I did give you. I did give you permission to. We'll be right with you. This break is brought to you by New You Life Center.
There you go. Thank you. Talk it up. There you go.
Yeah, New You.
Okay. All right. So now I have it queued up.
Okay.
Now I got Zoom. Share screen. It's not coming up when
I can't
basic.
see it. That's weird.
Yeah, it's not allowing me. All right. Screw it.
That's weird. I'm
sorry, Mel. Sorry, everybody.
But
Sorry,
anyway,
everybody.
I mean, it's interesting, you know, very
I feel
quietly.
like
Go ahead.
Mel was in another movie that I saw that was kind of had like a decent cast too. I don't.
Yeah,
remember.
no, it's like he's very quietly been busier than he's ever been. Like I'm always and they're all of these like under the radar movies that you would think would go the way of like Nicolas Cage and like Travolta and the kind of stuff that they're doing. I did watch one or two of these. One was called
Really.
It was a few years ago. One was called Get the Gringo.
I've heard of it.
And one was called, I think, Edge of Darkness or something like that. And they were both very good. Like, I really did enjoy them. They're not on the level of like his best stuff, but for what's coming out today, and his performance, like he's still good, man.
Well, let me ask you a question. Forget the Gringo. On a scale of 0 to 4 Jews, how many Jews do you get the Gringo?
Oh my God, you can't make me do that. I Get the Gringo would get a 3 out of 4. It was real. It was good. I enjoyed it.
So there you have it. You get an extra movie review from Andrew Groo.
Yeah,
3 out of 4 Jews.
And while I trash the idea of the Jean-Claude Van Damme going back into the past. When Lethal Weapon 5 comes my way, I'm still gonna be the first one in line for that. So I am a complete hypocrite.
Hang on. All kidding aside, we mentioned that on the last podcast, and you casted a lot of aspersions as to whether that project would ever get off the ground.
Right, but what I'm saying is that if it does, I will be the first one to see it.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Andrew did give Lethal Weapon 5 for a scale of 0 to 4 Jews for excitement level. He gave it 4 Jews for enthusiasm. All right. Anyway,
it's so bad.
Hold on, I've been canceled in 7 states. Hold on. Instagram just banned me. And
our parents have canceled us at this point.
Oh, well, hold on. Mark Zuckerberg wants to speak to me very immediately. I've been phased out. Dolph Lundgren has been in Hollywood for nearly 40 years, appearing in films such as Rocky IV, The Punisher, Creed II, Aquaman, and all of the movies in the Expendables franchise. Thanks to the 64-year-old actor's long career, he is producing his own documentary called Dolph. I'd say it's about halfway done, Lundgren exclusively told Pop Culture. They were in Europe shooting me during Expendables and Aquaman, and they've interviewed all friends of mine, Arnold, Sly, my family, my people, Grace Jones. We tried to track her down. It wasn't easy, but we ran into her in London. Groo, the documentary Dolph was announced in November, and Score G Productions, along with Famous Red Car Pictures. Wow.
Famous Red Car Pictures. Is that the name of the company, Famous Red Car Pictures, or are you saying Famous Red Car Pictures?
It's Score G Productions, along with Famous Red Car Pictures. I got to be honest with you, that sounds like a pornography film or something.
It does.
Score G Productions. Lundgren is looking forward to the final project, product, excuse me, but the documentary is a little strange for him at the same time. I think they probably have another few months of shooting left, Lundgren revealed. But for me personally, it's been interesting because I look forward. Usually I look into the future. I don't care about the past so much. But when you're doing this documentary, you revisit your own life and you start to kind of appreciate what you've done more. Like I appreciate a little bit more the decisions I made and the hardships I went through. Speaking on the future, Lundgren revealed what's next for him in terms of his career. Well, I've got these 3 movies coming out: Minions, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and The Expendables 4. Lundgren also revealed I'm directing a smaller picture, an action thriller taking place on the Mexican border, U.S.-Mexican border that I've had for 10 plus years. Groo, don't really hear too much about Dolph Lundgren's, generally speaking, to his colleagues these days. Let me gauge your interest on the documentary, Dolph.
I'd be interested in seeing that. I'm a big fan of documentaries, specifically about the movie business, about behind the scenes stuff. And his career is definitely an interesting one. I would certainly watch that. It's nothing I would buy or pay for, but if it showed up on one of my streaming services, or I would certainly watch it. It's definitely he's an interesting guy. Supposedly, like very, very smart and like educated, and so I'd be interested in seeing that kind of thing. So yeah, I would too. I feel like he had a real hot start. Then he was gone for a super long time. I know he did some B-level movies, but I feel like he was out of the limelight for a long time, and then Expendables and Creed 2 hit, and he's been, sort of back a little bit more. Am I off on that? No, or? You're not at all. I mean, I think all during that time he was making those, super low budget, only seen in Ukraine, movies that
Andrew, such bad taste. Why do you have to go there? I'm so sorry. Let me apologize. On a scale of 0 to 4 Jews, my apology is 4 Jews.
But I think he's pretty much kept busy. He was never, he did he did like Universal Soldier with Van Damme, so yes. He was above the title for those, and just definitely, I don't think you're off at all. I think he
Did you ever see him? Did you ever see the He-Man movie?
Masters of the Universe. Yes, I did.
Anything, or is it?
No, it's terrible. It's terrible, okay. But it's just like all those other movies around that time that were just like capitalizing on a current. The Masters of the Universe was a hot cartoon at the time, and it was low budget. They probably spent all their money on getting Frank Langella to play Skeletor. But it was, and Lundgren was still green. He was not a great actor he'll never be accused of being a great actor, but definitely a great screen presence. And it's not a good movie, but still fun to watch in certain ways, especially now. Okay. I did see it in the movie theater, though. I remember that. Shocking.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's get the shit started.
All right.
Deadly Ground is a 1994.
Wait, let me get my Indian skin jacket on. And
On Deadly Ground is a 1994 American environmental action adventure film. I mean, that in itself. Environmental action adventure film. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along. Co-produced and starring Steven Seagal. On Deadly Ground is Seagal's only directorial effort. Grew today's Van DAMMIT podcast. Steven Seagal on Deadly Ground is brought to you by New You Life Center. Spread the love. Follow New You Life Center on Instagram to take advantage of their specials and monthly giveaways. Let's start your journey. Check out all of their programs at www.newlifecenters.com. Whether it's medical weight loss, hormone balancing, medical aesthetics, cosmetic injectables, and laser treatments, give them a call. 602-274-0068. Tell them Moody Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New Life Center, a big Van Dammit thank you to New Life Center. Groo, let's go right to the cast of On Deadly Ground. We have Steven Seagal as Forrest Taft. God, I love these names. Michael Caine as Michael Jennings. Joan Chen as Masu. John C. McGinley as Magruder.
Okay.
R. Lee Ermey as Stone. Shari Shattuck as Lyles. A very young Billy Bob Thornton as Homer Carlton. And Richard Hamilton as Hugh Palmer. Hugh Palmer. Huge Palmer. Again, interesting casting. What do you think about the cast of On Deadly Ground? Some recognizable names.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, look, you've got John C. McGinley, who pretty much steals the show. He's always fun to watch in this movie. And he wasn't. He was a very well used character actor back then, but not very well known. Not like he is today. I think he's more known today by general audiences.
Yes.
But back then, he was just in this movie. He looks like he's just having a blast. And I think there's even one scene where he for some reason he's speaking in a British accent, and then it just disappears. I remember noticing that. But Michael Caine, that's an A-lister right there. One of the biggest acting legends in history. R. Lee Ermey, Academy Award nominee. You have, a young Billy Bob Thornton. This must have been right before Billy Bob's big breakthrough with Sling Blade, because this was 94, and I feel like Billy Bob Thornton was almost well known by then, because he only has one line in this movie. And the guy who played Hugh Palmer, I forgot his name, but I looked him up. And he was
Richard Hamilton.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember by his name, but he looked familiar. And there were some movies.
Yes, he does.
There were some movies. I remember he was in the movie Mo Money with Damon Wayans, and a couple other familiar ones. So he definitely Joan Chen. She was well known at the time. She was. God, where has she been? She had a pretty good career going in late 80s, early 90s. I guess this really stalled her, but she was in some pretty good movies, I remember. Obviously, none of them come to mind right now, but let's see, who else? Who was the guy? There were a couple other people who played the mercenaries.
Yeah, there was a couple others.
Mike Starr. Mike Starr has that part near the beginning where he's the thug in the bar. That guy, that guy.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Seagal definitely surrounded himself with talented people. I have to give him that. He surrounded himself with talented people.
Does a guy like Michael Caine just look at this as a payday?
He better. If he looks at it as anything else, I'd be disappointed with him. Yeah, there was a period of his career. He and Gene Hackman are very similar in that. There was a period of both their careers where they were just taking everything. Michael Caine did Jaws 4. He did all these terrible movies that these guys would admit that they get a paycheck for. So this, definitely. You're not making Shakespeare when you're being directed by Steven Seagal. And in fact, I looked and I couldn't find anything. Maybe you did. I wanted to see if Michael Caine ever did any interviews or said anything about what it was like to be directed by Steven Seagal. I'd love to hear that, but I couldn't find anything.
That would be interesting. I did not see anything.
I didn't either, so it might not exist. But yeah, very, very solid cast, I must say.
I always remember that Howard Stern, who's a frequent mention on the Nothing Worthwhile podcast, always talks about how he watched the Michael Caine acting video as preparation for Private
blink.
Parts.
Don't blink.
Yeah. Groo on Deadly Ground is listed for action adventure thriller. On Deadly Ground is rated R for strong
environmental action adventure thriller. Remember you said
strong violence and language. The film's runtime is 1 hour 41 minutes, and the tagline for On Deadly Ground is his battle to save Alaskan wilderness and protect its people can only be won.
On Deadly Ground.
Anyway, all right, let's get to the plot of On Deadly Ground.
Do we have to?
Aegis Oil. Well, I mean, obviously, the opening scene as Aegis Oil. They have the Aegis One, which is the company's newest oil platform and biggest refinery. And Aegis has purchased the oil production rights from the local tribal council 20 years prior. However, the rights will revert back to the natives if Aegis One, the company's newest oil platform and biggest refinery, is not online within a certain deadline. 13 days before the deadline, provisions of blowout preventers to Aegis turned out to be defective. And let's see here. CEO Michael Jennings forces his workers to use substandard preventers. I'm not a big oil rig guy, so all these terminologies go over my head.
Me too.
However, rig foreman Yul Palmer is aware of this, and as he predicts, the rig suffers a blowout due to faulty preventer, and it takes one Forrest Taft, who gets coptered in, hair all slicked back, all handsome Steven Seagal. He's a firefighter and a blowout specialist, and somehow he's a specialist dealing with oil drilling related fires and to extinguish the blaze. Groo, what do you think about that opening scene that sets the stage for On Deadly Ground?
I love that opening thing where this camera pans from the door opening of the chopper to his boot stepping onto the ground, and then pans all the way up, and it's Steven Seagal. And the fact that he's directing this makes that even funnier, because there's that shot in almost every early Seagal movie. His introduction into the story, and surprisingly, the effects here are pretty good, especially when everything blows up and like Seagal standing in front of it. As silly as it is, it's kind of a cool visual. I didn't mind. It didn't really get off to a bad start from my perspective.
No, I actually absolutely agree.
I like the fact that they revealed that Seagal is actually working for the bad guys.
Yes.
So that was a little refreshing. So I think it got off to a pretty good start. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean you could obviously read the Hugh Palmer character. He's the old veteran guy he's got some ethics, and he's he's probably going to pay a dear price for standing up to the boss. And you got Michael Caine as the the brutal CEO with the black slick back hair, and of course Seagal as the it does incrementally surprise you that Forrest works for Jennings, and they're on the same page initially, at least to start off the movie.
Yeah, so good first 10 to 12 to 15 minutes.
All right, so if you remember, Forrest Taft is initially skeptical of Hugh Palmer's claims. He discovers delays in the equipment shipments via restricted computer files. After being informed of Palmer's efforts to alert the EPA about the use of substandard equipment and Taft's restricted file access, Jennings arranges for them to be eliminated by his chief security officer, Magruder, ironically entitled Magruder, and his assistant Otto. The two trash Palmer's cabin and brutally murder him. And it was some of the violence is a little bit graphic in this movie. Leave his corpse in a seemingly damaged pump station rigged to explode, which Jennings lures Taft into under the guise of an emergency. Taft discovers the trap and barely manages to escape as Magruder sets off the explosion. He survives and is rescued by Masu, the daughter of the Inuit tribe chief Siluk. Jennings publicly blames the recent accident at the Aegis facilities on Palmer and Taft, stating that they both died in the latter explosion. So Hugh Palmer murdered, Taft seemingly
blown up.
I think he gets blown up, and then he gets rescued by Masu, the daughter of the Inuit tribe. Groo, where are we going with this? How's the plot moving along here for you?
Plot, I mean, it definitely, this is where it hits a wall, because what up until this point is a fun kind of like good guys versus like underdogs versus evil corporation kind of thing is now turning into something spiritual. And very, I don't know if vanity is the right word to use here. I will say that the scene, where they beat the crap out of Hugh Palmer, McGinley is really good in that scene. I mean, he's having fun with like his dialogue and what he's like. He's definitely chewing the scenery, but he makes it very entertaining, I have to say. But then once you get to, once the bad guys think that Forrest is dead, then they take him to their village, and then it's this
okay, so that's
dream
where
sequence
they start.
Type. Yeah,
that's where they lose me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, yeah, that's where
I don't know.
The movie never recovers from that.
Is he having a drug-induced?
Is it an opium thing? Is it? Yeah. Are we all? Is it all of a sudden like? Movie? Is it the deer? Is it what is it? No, not the Deer Hunter. Is it Once Upon a Time in America? All of a sudden, like it's something really weird, and that's where it completely loses its footing.
Yes, very over the top, and then I guess at the end of this vision quest, Taft. He accepts the truth, and now he vows to make amends for his part for Jennings and Aegis's crimes.
And he wants to avenge the death of Saluk. For like a minute, he's wearing that Indian skin jacket. But then when he goes to fetch all the guns, he's got his leather back on, his hair slicked back again.
Well, okay, so. That part, okay, so that's when he goes with Masu to stock up on the.
He said he had the stuff hidden, right?
Right. So to me, that leads to the most outrageous dialogue in the movie, which is he has this vision quest, and he's like, he's accepted as of course, the Caucasian. He's accepted into the tribe. Then doesn't he dress her down and say, what do you think? A great Indian chief from the sky is going to come down and protect your village? That's not how it happens.
Yeah. He's always got he's always. I'm like,
do you remember that? Do you remember that whole dialogue? He's like, what do you think? The great Indian chief from the sky is going to. And I'm like, 2 minutes ago, you were having this amazing vision question where,
Yeah, well, he's got to. They got to bring him back to the cynic, to badass Steven Seagal as opposed to flighty whatever. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's funny you mentioned that, but yeah, he puts on the leather. He's got the slick back hair. It's like back to old.
They know
Steven
what
Seagal.
sells. They know what sells.
So anyway, the Aegis security teams to backtrack. They're unable to locate Taft's body. Jennings figures out that he has survived, and he orders him found. They track back to Saluk's village, and when the tribe refuses to cooperate, a confrontation ensues, ending with, of course, Magruder fatally shooting Saluk, and all sorts of chaos happening at the Indian village. What'd you think of that scene where they kill the native elder of the tribe?
Well, obviously tragic. But definitely, they definitely had their action movie playbook out. They need to make sure that they kill off the wise old man, and now everybody's got to avenge him. So, these are paint by numbers scenes. They're not badly done. It's like assembly line filmmaking, with them taking different parts from different kinds of movies and putting them together here, and they're not really fitting together very well. That's what it's feeling like to me.
Well, Andrew already referenced when Seagal and Forrest Taft and Masu they go to the cabin to stock up on ammunition, and there Otto and the three Aegis security guards track them back to that cabin. They proceed to storm the place. Of course, Forrest Taft successfully ambushes the aggressors, quickly killing all of them. Masu and him access incriminating disc and discover that Jennings intends to use the refinery to cause a spill in order to keep the oil rights and later profit off the empty oil field by refilling it with toxic substances. Oh, he's a bad guy. With little time left to alert the authorities, Taft decides to resort to violence in order to prevent Aegis from committing the crime. Jennings then hires a group of New Orleans-based mercenaries led by Stone. I believe that's R. Lee Ermey. Yeah.
And this,
by the way, R. Lee Ermey in his best military or perhaps San Francisco gay
mustache,
like thick mustache with short hair.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, is this Harvey Milk or is this?
God!
Is this On Deadly Ground?
Oh my goodness!
Why am I saying something really?
No.
It looked like standard action hero '90s.
But that's when it was. It was made in 1994. It stands out now. It definitely stands out now. You're not wrong at all. But back then, you got to remember what like you said. It's kind of what it was at the time for the time, I think.
So remember, they're being pursued by the mercenaries, and Taft and Masu I think Taft, he wires some explosives and he kills a bunch of them up on the mountains, and then they head to the refinery complex. Taft begins to sabotage Aegis 1 by killing the main power and forcing a reboot, and then releasing a hydrochloric acid gas inside the refinery. This is supposed to be an environmentally conscious movie. I mean, it can't be a mammal alive within 200 miles of this movie.
Yeah, how much of the ozone did they destroy blowing shit up in this movie?
Unbelievable. This causes the evacuation of the plant and the immediate withdrawal of the FBI anti-terrorism unit summoned by Lyles. That's Shari Shattuck's character. Stone suggests that these methods. So basically, at this point, R. Lee Ermey's character mentions that Forrest Taft is perhaps ex-CIA. Like, that's a late sort of. I mean,
I almost expected him to. I almost expected him to be like, I believe that this guy's name is actually Mason Storm. From call it like from another movie, another Seagal movie,
isn't this like every Seagal movie?
Yes.
He's supposed to be a regular guy.
Well,
and then he's always
like in Under Siege, he's really a cook, who happens to know Aikido. Yes, this is the Seagal. This is the Seagal blueprint, but there are problems with this one that don't exist in some of the other ones.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So of course Taft, he's causing all sorts of holy hell in the oil rig. Magruder and Lyles attempt to escape, but Taft kills Magruder, and then Lyles is killed in an explosion while making her getaway. That was a pretty bloody end to that character.
Yes.
Jennings heads for the platform, guarded by Stone and his crew. Taft enters the rig, eliminating every opposing mercenary on the way to the preventer. He confronts Jennings and drops him to his death into a pool of oil sludge leaked from the faulty preventer. Taft and Masu then leave the rig just as a hidden C4 charges detonate, causing a chain of explosions that ravages the whole plant. And they flee the exploding refinery in an Aegis truck, no less, escaping as Aegis 1 is completely torn down by the fire.
Imagine reading this to your child.
Well, the thing that actually really got my goat is not that ending, is not that scene.
Wow.
But then the final scene, he's like speaking in front of like Washington. Like,
yes.
He's just killed, 60 people. He's caused all sorts of environmental havoc, releasing gases, sludge. And he's delivering a speech at the Alaskan state capitol about the dangers of oil pollution and companies that are endangering the ecosystem.
Yeah, the only thing that could have saved it at that point would be like J.R. Ewing coming in and saying, "Excuse me, I got something to say here."
I do want to get you, before I get to the budget and to your final review. Obviously, Andrew's framing it; it may not be a good one. I did want to ask you, what did you think of Seagal as a director? Just you're a Hollywood guy. The shots, I thought it was pretty well shot. Again, I don't have an eye quite like you. What did you think of Seagal just as a director?
The movie does not suffer from his direction, meaning that you're right about the movie looks good. The action sequences are done well. They're shot well. It's a good looking movie. I would say there might be some editing issues. I remember seeing them, as I watched, because I definitely was looking at watching this movie as looking to see directorial things, and he does a good job. I have to say, with the material he's given, I think he does a pretty good job.
To a blind eye, I did catch a couple of times where I think you can clearly see Seagal's stunt double. It's like. It looks like a guy like me with no hair.
Yeah,
while Seagal has a long ponytail.
I think I remember a couple times. Yeah, but he shows some skill. I have to say that. I have to give him that.
When a star directs like that, is that start to go to like a vanity project? I mean, do a lot of stars have directorial experience? Are they going into these things kind of cold? I mean, there's a lot of money on the line. I mean, do they have somebody who kind of mentors them or kind of cleans up mistakes? How does that work when a star directs like that?
Like they have their people, meaning that this, I remember telling you after I watched it again, you see Steven Seagal's name 3 times in the credits before the title. So that means, it's his production company, even though Warner Brothers is the main company. He produced it, which means it's his production company, which means he's got his people, around him. But he's the type of guy who probably surrounded himself with yes men. But yeah, he's definitely got his technical people to guide him in his directing, without a doubt. They all do. Even the directors, like I remember, even you know who Wes Anderson is, correct?
Of course.
Yes. So even he, when I was on the set of one of his movies, he had Roman Coppola. You know who Roman Coppola is?
Well, I know the Coppola name.
Yeah, he's Francis Ford Coppola's son, and he's kind of he's dabbled in directing. Well, Roman Coppola was like Wes Anderson's right hand. Like, what do you think of this shot, Roman? What do you think? Does this work for you? What do you think? Like, they all have their confidants on there who can give them an objective opinion. So I would have to imagine Seagal would have had that.
Okay, good. Interesting. That's what I surmised. Groo, you want to give a gander? 1994. What was the budget for On Deadly Ground?
This is a tough one because it does look good. Like, it does not look like a lot of green screen stuff. Seagal was coming off. This was, I think, towards the end of Phase 1. He was coming off hits. Like, his movies were making money. I believe this was right after Under Siege, which was I think his biggest hit. So I'm gonna say the budget was about between 40 and 50 million, around there.
I always say my boy knows his stuff. 50 million.
50?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Groo, you want to give a gander to the box office for On Deadly Ground? I have the numbers for the U.S. and Canada combined, and then worldwide. So I mean, if you want to just go worldwide or U.S. Canada.
I'll go U.S. because you never know, because these movies make weird amounts of money foreign. I'm going to go U.S. I remember this movie not being well received and being considered like his first flop, but it wasn't considered like a mega flop. So I'm going to say it didn't quite. I'm going to say maybe it just. I'm going to say like 40 million. Probably like just didn't make its money back quite. But it wasn't like it wasn't like like 3 people saw it.
All right, so he's Andrews. You said
say like
40
million box office.
Okay, so Andrew said U.S. U.S. Canada. Andrew's good. Film grossed 38.6 million in the U.S. and Canada.
Wow. What about worldwide?
Very, very good. Andrew,
so wait. Now let me guess. Wait, I'll guess worldwide based on that.
Of course. There you go. Worldwide.
So now I'll guess a total of 90 worldwide. I mean a total like guess. between U.S. and Canada and worldwide, a worldwide total of 90. That's my guess.
Okay. You're in the ballpark. 78.1 million worldwide.
Really? All right, that's surprising. Okay.
Is that surprising? Because I feel like Seagal's numbers worldwide should have been a little stronger. I mean,
yes, that's why I would have guessed if it made 38 million in the States, I would have guessed it made more money outside of the States, which it did, but not much. Like literally.
All right, Andrew, let's move on. Let's move on to the critical response for On Deadly Ground. You want to give a gander to the Rotten Tomatoes. We have the tomato meter score, which is based on critical reviews, 0 to 100%. You want to give a gander as to numeric from 0 to 100%. What was the tomato
really
meter
low,
score?
really low, but there's always that one or two. Those one or two that they include that just throw everything off. So I'm going to say like 10 to 15%, somewhere in there. Like it can't be any more than that.
My boy knows his shit. 12%.
12%
score.
Oh my god, that's bad.
What's the audience score? Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, I was the target audience at the time, and at the time I really disliked it. But there were some Seagal lunatics out there who loved everything he did. I'm going to be generous and give it an audience score of 50 to 55%.
Yeah, you're a little generous on that one.
Yeah?
34%. But
right.
the audience score is always higher than the
true.
The critical.
That's true.
All right, Groo, as you're formulating your final notes for your critical review score, let me read you some top critics. Renee Rodriguez from the Miami Herald said, On Deadly Ground has all the thrills and suspense of a rerun of Barney and Friends.
That's good.
Barney and Friends.
Good.
Carrie Rickey of the Philadelphia Inquirer says, what a renaissance man that Steven Seagal. He lumbers, he sermonizes, he directs. John Hartle of Seattle Times says, unfortunately, Seagal, who also makes his directing debut with this script, is no match for Michael Caine. His on-screen personality is petulant and humorless. His voice so grating you want to reach for a mute button. Groo, Kim Newman of Empire Magazine said, the fuzzy thinking allows for gorgeous outdoor photography and a few too many dead spots, but Seagal, the director, shows real muscle by staging one of the screen's best ever exploding helicopters. It's a strange review. Kevin Thomas of the LA Times says, although you could certainly wish that Seagal and his writers could have found less preachy ways to express themselves, On Deadly Ground is otherwise a lively entertainment for action fans. And of course, Lisa Schwartzbaum from Entertainment Weekly says, I didn't want to resort to violence. I didn't have a choice, Seagal says. A greater man might have said, make my day. That was an F rating.
Wow.
Gene Siskel included On Deadly Ground in his worst list for 1994, singling out the melancholy tone of the film and the quality of Seagal's dialogue. Variety film critic Leonard Clady referred to the film as a vanity project, parroting as a social statement, and commented that the film seemingly borrows heavily from the earlier Billy Jack films, but opined that Seagal lacked acting technique and ability behind the camera to keep the story simple and direct. Seagology author Verne considers On Deadly Ground to be one of Seagal's most defining works, writing, quote, "It's his corniest, most unintentionally hilarious movie of his career, but it's also Seagal's most sincere and his most ballsy," going on to claim, quote, "You can't understand Seagal if you haven't seen On Deadly Ground." He points out that many of his most important themes and motifs that define Seagal's works are present in this film, and more overtly so than in any other of his films. All right, I'm going to take a quick pause. I'm going to throw the floor over to Mr. Andrew Von Groothius. Groo, please give us your environmentally conscious review of On Deadly Ground. 0 to 4 barrels of oil. How many barrels of oil do you give On Deadly Ground?
All right. Well, before I give my number, I've like I said at the beginning, I've seen this movie twice. I saw it when it came out in the theater, and I have to say, I was a big Steven Seagal fan at the time of what he had done up to that point. He had done Above the Law, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, which is actually one of my favorite action movies ever. I'll discuss that another time. Yeah, go ahead.
May I put a point in, please?
Please, go ahead.
I'm just want to throw this at you.
Yeah.
Really, like, that much of a fan? First of all, I don't remember you being, but okay, fine. I mean, it's not like we talked every little thing Hollywood. And I am not saying that there's not better performances early in his career, but like, you were that down with Seagal? Like,
I wasn't a Seagal, not on like a Stallone or Schwarzenegger level, but I enjoyed what he had put out. Up to that point, Hard to Kill was a good one, and I thought he was good. I enjoyed him. He was
okay. Fair enough.
I just looked at him and like he's the toughest bastard, like, and I just really enjoyed watching him. He just had a screen presence. I did not think his acting was bad the way people describe it. That was his character. That was the kind of part that he played. Out for Justice, he actually put on a very thick Brooklyn accent, which I thought was great. I'll talk about the movie another day. So, and this was coming off Under Siege, so he was doing well. He was, and this was his
May I interject?
Yeah,
go
ahead.
Interject one more point before your final review.
Go ahead.
Because he's tough badass. But boy, I want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
That guy cannot run worth a lick. He runs like
I agree.
Very effeminate. I mean, with the hands flopping. And all right, I don't know why I had to say that.
I'll agree with that. But in any case,
thank you, Andrew.
All right,
thank you for agreeing with me.
Yeah, I do. So, all right. So I go to see On Deadly Ground because this is like it's one of the last Seagal movies to be released in the theater. And I went to see it back then, and I was so disappointed in it because it was not where it should have, improved upon his already, in my opinion, good body of work. It really was like running into a brick wall. So I really disliked it when I saw it. Now, when I watched it again a week ago, I knew it was not a good movie, but I enjoyed it more, and I enjoyed him more than I did when I saw it the first time. So what I'm going to say that my 1994 self would give this movie 1/2 of a barrel of oil, and my 2022 self is going to give it 1.5 barrels of oil. It's just
are you now in the multiverse? Is Van Damme in the multiverse?
It's actually.
Hey guys, next week I'm going to be speaking to 1992 Andy Groo.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
It's a. I don't think that's what I sounded like back then. I actually think this, even though it's still a bad movie, I think it has aged not badly. I don't know. I don't even know what the hell that means. But it is not diminished with age. It's gotten a little better with age. That said, it still dies halfway through when it stops being, a hardcore action movie and starts being the environmental save the earth.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
You brought up a good point, or an interesting point. You're saying it's aged well, or perhaps maybe the movie, your initial screening set such a low bar that when you saw it 20 years later, you were pleasantly surprised. Is that due to Seagal? Is that due to Michael Caine? Is that due to
Seagal? The answer is Seagal. I enjoyed watching him, and maybe it's because I miss this Seagal, because you see him now, and really since the late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, he's on cruise control now.
Yeah, but he's been this way for a long time. I missed this one, and so I enjoyed seeing this one. Even in a bad movie, I enjoyed seeing, the young and still hungry Seagal. So that's why, to me, it's aged a little better than you would expect.
So you gave it 1.5 barrels.
1.5 barrels. All right. Your turn.
Andrew, let me take the floor here, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on what I'm going to present to you.
Mm-hmm.
What did I like about this movie? It's a great cast.
Mm-hmm.
You got a very young Billy Bob Thornton. Michael Caine makes something out of nothing, playing a deliciously over the top, oil executive baddie with the black slick hair, the white chompers. Movie is well shot. I thought the movie looked pretty good. What I didn't like about the movie, again, I've talked about it in other podcasts. It's a tough sell to me as an environmental piece, as an action movie. It just doesn't feel like those two pieces fit. There's some terrible over-the-top dialogue at times. And actually, it's because these are my notes after I watched it. I watched it on Andrew's Voodoo account. Thank you very much, Mr. Grutius. It's funny you talk about Seagal. He's not bad here, but he ain't great.
Right.
And to me, it kind of shows. I feel like he's a one-note actor. He plays serious well and pretty much nothing else.
Yeah.
He comedic, no. Nuance, no. Sad, no. He plays. He doesn't do a terrible job, but he just plays a serious, like with a stick up his ass guy all the time. He does that well. And actually, that's part of my final review. I actually wrote Seagal's not a bad actor. He plays serious well and really nothing else. He has a limited range as a thespian. The movie tries to spin positive message. But again, I had a hard time growing believing an environmental film that produces grisly kills, massive earth-shaking explosions. I thought even at times the movie didn't reflect well some racist tones. And even back then, Seagal probably should have known better. I will agree with Andrew. I gave the movie 1.5 barrels of oil as the actors do their best. But again, it's another movie that can't really decide what it wants to be. Does it want to be sort of like an environmental theme movie? Is it an action? And by the end of the movie, as a viewer, I really didn't even care. So I took it for what it's. Yeah, at the end of the movie, I'm like, is it an environmental movie? Is it an action movie? And then by the end of the movie, I'm just like, oh, it's over. I'm glad.
Yeah.
To your note about aging well, I definitely saw it years ago. It was hard for me to really kind of think about back to 1994 Evan Moody. I do remember seeing it and being intrigued by the concept of an environmental action piece. I remember even back then going, wow, these two things don't seem to have synergy. Again, Seagal does an okay job. He plays, an action guy, a serious guy well. That's about it. I enjoyed the cast. Thought it looked like a well-shot movie. They put a few bucks in it. 1.5 barrels, Andrew.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Out for Justice?
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
I invite you to watch that again after giving me that review and talking about Seagal and his acting. It's on my Vudu. You can watch it anytime you want.
Okay.
Because that, to me, is his best, not only his best movie, but by far his best performance. And nobody seems to agree with me. So, but then again, I don't talk to anybody but you. So
but
I want to
here's
hear
my
what you
thing.
have to say.
Out for Justice. What number movie was that in the Seagal?
That was like number
Seagalogy?
4. I think it was like Above the Law was his first. Then I think either Hard to Kill or Marked for Death was his second. Then the other one was the third. Then I think it was Out for Justice. Then Under Siege, and then I think this one. I think this was number 5 on Deadly Ground. Meaning
Okay.
I think, or 6. But yeah, Out for Justice was among those first few.
Out for Justice for Andrew Guthius. Is that like if you're saying, is that your example of a, hey, you want to see a good Seagal movie? Out for Justice is Andrew Guthius.
That's the first.
Okay.
Everyone usually goes to Under Siege. Mine is by far Out for Justice.
I would say Under Siege was his high water mark commercially. I mean, that
it definitely was. That was his biggest hit. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that was that I enjoyed.
And Under Siege 2, Under Siege 2 wasn't bad. I think we saw that together.
Yeah, and I remember hating it then too.
Really? I remember liking it. Anyway, but yeah, I'd like you to watch Out for Justice because I have actually. This made me want to watch that again, so I probably will. So, but yeah. Hey, look, I like that we agree, on the barrels of oil. That never happens. So we're sympathetic.
As I like to say,
we're simpatico.
I like to say, medium minds think alike.
Yes, exactly.
Drew, for our next Van Dammit podcast, we will return to the very man in which this great podcast is based. I love this great sport of ours.
What are we doing?
Moody and Groo, we will be breaking down a Ryan Rebalkin request. It's 1990's Death Warrant. In Bloodsport and Kickboxer, he won it all. Now there are no rules, no escape, and nobody's playing games. Groo, it's Death Warrant.
See, you know what? You know why I like this? I like doing the Van Damme podcast because some of these I've never seen, and I've never seen Death Warrant, and I'm looking forward to it.
I feel like if I did, it was in passing.
I never saw this before. Before we started doing this, I've never seen. I don't think I had ever seen what was the second one we did. I don't think I had ever seen Bloodsport before I watched it for this podcast. I'd seen Double Impact.
Right, Bloodsport was number 2. We did No Retreat, No Surrender, Bloodsport, and then I think wasn't Kickboxer 3?
Oh yeah, no, I'd never seen Kickboxer. That was the one I had never seen. And I've never seen Death Warrant, so I'm looking forward to it.
Now, here's what I would say. I don't want to, we're almost wrapping it up, but I do think Jean-Claude, pound for pound, I mean, we're not talking about Academy Award winners, but I do think Jean-Claude has, comparative to Steven Seagal, a lot more range as an actor. There, I said.
Yes, you're right, but I think the reason that you're right is because Seagal sabotaged himself in Hollywood by becoming like persona non grata very early on in his career, with like sexual harassment allegations. Those have been hanging around for a while. His own craziness, which really started with this thing. It was around this time I think he hosted that infamous SNL episode. I remember him coming out on Arsenio Hall wearing that Indian jacket, he was flying off he was just going off the rails. And Van Damme, I don't think ever really had hit that wall. I think he was in his place and comfortable in his place and never really deviated. He would do these second tier action movies that would not spend a lot of money, wouldn't make $100 million, but would still be very profitable. And Van Damme fans were always satisfied. And he never really strayed from that formula. and it always worked. And yes, he got a little bit better each time, I think, with a couple of missteps. But Seagal, after this one, really, with maybe one or two exceptions, went the way of where he is now, which is like hiding out in Russia. So that I think that's probably has a lot to do with it. People don't like him, and you don't hear that about Van Damme. That could make a difference.
This is true. Maybe Seagal's. Maybe he's in the safest place on the planet right now.
Sure.
Out of Russia.
For him, probably, from what I understand.
Well, Groo, in 1 week, we will be right there.
Yes.
Right where? We're going to be right on the road to WrestleMania. It's Nothing Worthwhile's most stupendous WrestleMania preview show. Andrew and I will give our thoughts to the buildup of WrestleMania 38 and our predictions for Night 1 and Night 2. Groo will be there live in Dallas. It's our most stupendous WrestleMania preview show.
Yes, I'm very excited. This is our favorite time of year where we bring Nothing Worthwhile on the road, but back home, as it were, because we will be face-to-face live from Dallas, Texas. 2 weeks from today, we're going to be doing a 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 shows WrestleMania weekend. Plus, next weekend, we're going to be previewing the card as it stands, talking about predictions, talking about the trip. What are we going to do at WrestleCon? What bars are we going to hit? Where are we going to meet up so all our fans can come out and see us next week? It's going to be great. Dallas, you ain't seen nothing yet. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are headed your way live a week from today, our WrestleMania preview show. So please be there. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3, rip 'em.
Aren't we supposed to say no retreat,
no
surrender?
Oh yeah.
Come on, are we branding this show? Come on,
I forgot which one we were doing. All right. So wait, yeah, let's. All right. So next week we got our WrestleMania preview show followed by our live from Dallas. So Evan, you got any questions for me?
Not a one. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed taking a little break from Jean-Claude and hitting up Steven Seagal, but very much looking forward to next week and hearing your thoughts on the build-up and your predictions for WrestleMania 38.
Yes, indeed. So until then, Evan, no retreat.
No surrender!
Yeah.
Cow, everybody.